no. Angel Reese. She might have tapped out, y'all. Angel Reese may have tapped out and quit on the Chicago Sky. Everybody is speculating. What is this back injury? What's going on? Hey.
Nobody saw this coming, and yet somehow everyone did. Angel Reese, the self-proclaimed Bayou Barbie and one of the most polarizing rookies the WNBA has ever seen, is once again at the center of absolute chaos. Reports are swirling that she may have completely tapped out on the Chicago Sky. Some say she flat out quit on her team. Others insist it's a legitimate back injury, and her hardcore fans argue she's simply protecting her peace. But here's what's crystal clear. This saga has cracked open one of the messiest dramas in women's basketball history. Nobody saw this coming, and yet somehow everyone did. Angel Reese, the self-proclaimed Bayou Barbie and one of the most polarizing rookies the WNBA has ever seen, is once again at the center of absolute chaos. Reports are swirling that she may have completely tapped out on the Chicago Sky. Some say she flat out quit on her team. Others insist it's a legitimate back injury, and her hardcore fans argue she's simply protecting her peace. But here's what's crystal clear. This saga has cracked open one of the messiest dramas in women's basketball history. The question isn't just is Angel hurt? The real question is, did Angel Reese just walk away from the grind when her team needed her most? Because the timing couldn't be worse if she planned it herself. The Sky are drowning in mediocrity, the playoffs are slipping away, and their most talked about player has suddenly vanished from the bench, missing crucial road trips and throwing up cryptic posts on social media, while her teammates are left fighting battles without their supposed franchise cornerstone. When word first leaked that Reese wasn't traveling with the team, Chicago supporters felt completely betrayed. To them,
the world wants to know. The whole world is wondering, where in the world is Batman? I'm joking. I want to know, as Chicago Sky fans, women's basketball, WNBA, Angel Reese fans, where in the world?
This wasn't a rookie trying to rehab a serious injury. It looked like straight up abandonment. The same player who built her entire reputation on being flashy, fearless, and in your face had suddenly gone ghost when her team was bleeding losses and desperately needed leadership. Teammates were stunned into silence. Fans were absolutely furious. The media was eating it up like it was the biggest scandal since the entire WNBA draft lottery controversy. But here's what makes this situation sting even deeper. The specific injury being reported is a back problem. Think about the symbolism for a second. For months, the narrative pushed by ESPN and every sports talk show was that Reese had been carrying the Sky on her shoulders. The hype, the media circus, the pressure, the expectations. Now, literally, her back supposedly can't handle the load. But here's the uncomfortable reality that nobody wants to say out loud. Reese wasn't actually carrying the Chicago Sky. If anything, she was carrying her personal brand. And Chicago was just along for the expensive ride. That's the dirty secret buried underneath all the headlines and social media debates. When Angel Reese entered the WNBA, she didn't arrive as just another talented rookie looking to prove herself. She came in as a full-blown entertainment personality with millions of followers, endorsement deals already lined up, and a media presence that overshadowed half the veterans in the league. At LSU, she had been the ultimate heel character, the taunter, the trash talker, the player who brought genuine fire and controversy to women's college basketball. She wasn't just playing games, she was putting on a show every single night.
I find it very symbolic, very almost funny, but not funny. Not funny, haha, but funny, sad. That out of all the bodily injuries that Angel Reese, a player, could experience, she's experiencing a back injury. Her back is literally hurting. And is it because that she is tired of carrying the weight of the Chicago Sky on her back, being that floor general and that floor leader? Did the Chicago Sky break Angel Reese's back?
The WNBA, absolutely desperate for any kind of mainstream attention and viral moments, leaned into that energy harder than they'd ever promoted a rookie before. They plastered her face on promotional materials, boosted every single highlight reel, made sure her name was mentioned in every single debate about the future of women's basketball, and especially pushed that manufactured rivalry with Caitlin Clark like it was Magic versus Bird all over again. But here's the brutal truth that's been sitting right in front of everyone's faces. That rivalry was more manufactured drama than actual basketball competition. Clark was putting up historically dominant numbers, literally rewriting record books and dragging Indiana into playoff contention almost single-handedly. Meanwhile, Reese was stacking double-doubles, sure, but mostly in meaningless minutes during blowout losses with stats that looked impressive on paper but didn't actually swing the outcome of games. It was like comparing a mansion built brick by brick to a movie set that only looked impressive under the studio lights. And yet, because Reese had the personality, because she made people argue on Twitter, because she generated clicks and engagement, media kept propping her up as Clark's equal in terms of impact and importance. They needed the storyline, they needed the controversy, they needed the drama to sell tickets and drive ratings. And Angel delivered exactly what they wanted. Headlines, attention, viral moments, and endless debate shows.
Vacation. Listen, everybody is ablaze right now. Everybody's wondering what is really going on with Angel Reese. Has she just flat out quit again? Has she quit on the Chicago Sky? Angel, you gotta be, hold on, you have to have some level of self-awareness here. Last year with the Chicago Sky.
But here's the dangerous trap that nobody warned her about. When you build a personal brand that's bigger than your actual basketball resume, expectations inflate overnight and reality becomes impossible to manage. Every missed free throw gets dissected on SportsCenter. Every argument with a referee goes viral on TikTok. Every cryptic tweet becomes breaking news on ESPN. Every time you don't show up, people notice immediately. And when the hype machine starts outweighing your actual on-court production, that's exactly when everything falls apart in spectacular fashion. Which brings us right back to this moment right now with Angel Reese sitting at home with a mysterious back injury while her team crashes and burns without her. This should be a completely normal, boring story about an athlete dealing with a routine injury. Players get hurt all the time. They rest, they recover, they come back stronger. But the reason this story isn't landing that way, the reason fans are calling it suspicious, is because people have already started recognizing a clear pattern of behavior that spans back years. So is this really just an unfortunate injury timing, or is it the latest chapter in a much bigger story about a player who seems to vanish whenever the pressure gets too intense? If Angel Reese's sudden vanishing act feels like deja vu, that's because you've literally seen this movie before. This isn't her first rodeo when it comes to stepping away when things get complicated, and critics are starting to say it definitely won't be her last. The pattern is so obvious now that even her most dedicated fans are having trouble defending it.
Guy, you quit. You quit. You threw in the towel. Once you realize you no longer, you never stood a chance, to be honest, with Caitlin Clark for that Rookie of the Year. But once you realize your double streak was over, and it was over. She took over post-Olympic break. Once you realize it was done.
Let's rewind the tape to LSU, where Reese wasn't just a player. She was a straight-up phenomenon who changed the entire energy of women's college basketball. The taunts, the side eyes, the absolutely legendary "you can't see me" hand gesture directed at Caitlin Clark during the national championship game. That single moment turned her into a viral superstar overnight. She didn't just embrace the villain role, she perfected it, built her entire identity around it, and absolutely thrived in the spotlight like she was born for it. But once the confetti settled and the championship celebrations ended, the cracks in her commitment started showing up in ways that LSU tried desperately to keep quiet. Rumors began swirling about serious clashes with teammates, tension with coaching staff, and even heated arguments with Kim Mulkey herself. For all the trophies and highlight reels, there was always this underlying sense that Reese was more invested in building her personal brand than grinding through the less glamorous parts of being a team player. Here's what most people don't know about her LSU situation. There was a mysterious 2-week stretch where she basically went MIA from team activities, and the program scrambled to cover it up with vague statements about personal matters. Teammates were reportedly frustrated because they were preparing for crucial conference games while their star player was nowhere to be found. Sound familiar? It's the exact same playbook she's running in Chicago right now. Then came the unrivaled situation, which should have been Angel's perfect opportunity to prove she was about more than just college hype. This alternative women's basketball league was designed specifically to give stars like her a premium platform to showcase their skills and build their brands even further. For Reese, it was supposed to be another chance to dominate headlines and prove she belonged in conversations with the elite players in women's basketball. Except when the championship game rolled around, the biggest moment of the entire season, the game that would determine everything, Angel Reese was absolutely nowhere to be found. No injury report, no official explanation, no press conference, just complete radio silence while her teammates battled for a title without their supposed superstar. The other players fought their hearts out, fans paid premium prices expecting to see her perform, and Reese's absence became a bigger story than the actual championship game itself. But wait, it gets even worse. Fast forward to 2025 and Reese made history again, but for all the wrong reasons. She became the very first player ever ejected from Unrivaled, getting tossed for what witnesses described as completely losing her composure during a heated exchange with officials.
Making this something that isn't. She's got a back injury. Like, I'm not going to be out here saying that Angel Reese needs to go out and play through a damn back injury. I just don't think is the case, especially when your team is as bad as it is. Like, absolutely just stinking it up constantly. Like the Chicago Sky nothing.
This wasn't just a technical foul or a moment of frustration. This was a complete meltdown that shocked everyone in the building and raised serious questions about her mental approach to competition. The contrast with Caitlin Clark during the same period couldn't be more stark or embarrassing for Reese's supporters. While Angel was vanishing from championship games and getting ejected from leagues, Clark was showing up every single night, battling through her own injuries, grinding through difficult losses, and proving that elite players find ways to impact winning even when they're not at it. When Clark got hurt, she still traveled with her team, still sat on the bench bringing energy, still acted like a true leader even when she couldn't physically contribute on the court. That's what real commitment looks like. That's what franchise players do. They show up when it's convenient and when it's not. They lead by example, whether they're scoring 30 points or riding the bench with an injury. They understand that being a professional means your teammates and fans can count on you to be present, mentally and physically, especially during the toughest moment. Reese, on the other hand, has developed this troubling habit of finding exit strategies whenever the grind gets too real or the spotlight feels too hot. At LSU, it was mysterious personal issues. At Unrivaled, it was unexplained absences. Now with the Sky, it's a convenient back injury that conveniently appeared right when her team needed her leadership the most. Here's what makes the pattern even more frustrating for basketball fans who just want to see great competition. Reese's brand somehow keeps getting stronger with every disappearing act. Even when she's not playing, she's trending on social media. Even when she's not contributing to wins, she's generating more headlines than players who are actually carrying their teams.
You threw in the towel, said your wrist was hurting for the rest of the year. You threw in the towel and said your wrist was hurting for the rest of the year and didn't play again. This past the inaugural season of Unrivaled, you didn't even finish that season. You didn't even show up for the championship. No, not only did you not play, you didn't even show up to the game at all. People noticing a pattern with you. That's 2 seasons in a row.
To victories. It's like she's figured out how to stay famous without having to do the hard work that usually comes with fame in professional sports. But here's the dangerous reality that's starting to catch up with her. Every single disappearing act chips away at the trust between Reese and the people who actually matter for her basketball career. Her teammates, her coaches, her front office, and most importantly, her fans. Because a brand can survive endless controversies and social media drama, but a basketball team can only survive if everyone knows you're going to show up when it matters most. And right now, Angel Reese looks less like a franchise cornerstone and more like an Instagram influencer who happens to be really tall. The Chicago Sky thought they were drafting the next face of their franchise. What they actually got was a $324,000 experiment in whether social media clout can translate to basketball wins. Spoiler alert, it can't, and the results have been absolutely devastating for everyone involved. From the moment Angel Reese's name was called on draft night, Chicago marketed her as their savior, the player who could single-handedly rebuild a team that was still recovering from roster turnover, coaching disasters, and the complete collapse of their championship window. On paper, the logic seemed bulletproof. Reese was one of the most recognizable faces in women's basketball, fresh off a national championship at LSU, and already commanding millions of social media followers before she even stepped foot in a WNBA arena. For a franchise desperately searching for relevance and ticket sales, she looked like a marketing goldmine. But here's the brutal reality that's become impossible to ignore. The Sky didn't just draft a basketball player, they bought front row season tickets to the Angel Reese circus, complete with all the drama, distractions, and disappearing acts that come with the territory. And the fine print of that deal has become painfully expensive for everyone in Chicago who actually cares about winning basketball games. Let's talk real numbers for a second, because this is where the story gets really wild. Reese's rookie contract with the Sky is worth approximately $324,000 over 4 years. That's standard WNBA rookie money. Nothing crazy, but her endorsement deal with Reebok, that's reportedly worth multiple millions, with some insiders suggesting it's more than what most WNBA veterans make in their entire careers. Think about what that means psychologically. Her basketball salary is basically pocket change compared to what she makes for posting Instagram photos in Reebok gear. When your endorsement money dwarfs your basketball salary by that kind of margin, where do you think your real priorities are going to be? The answer is playing out in real time on our screens, and it's not pretty for Sky fans who thought they were getting a competitor who would bleed for the jersey. The signs of this fundamental mismatch were obvious from day one, but everyone was too caught up in the hype to notice them.
Listen, Angel Reese has thrown in the towel. She refuses to travel with the team. Once again, the team has a road game. We already saw she refused to travel with the team to Indiana versus the Fever. Now they head to Connecticut to take on the worst team in the league. Yes, they finally went against a team that is worse than them, the Connecticut Sun.
Instead of focusing on basketball development, film study, or building chemistry with her new teammates, most of the conversation around Reese's rookie season centered on manufactured drama with Caitlin Clark, her off-court fashion statements, and her fiery post-game sound bites that generated more clicks than her actual game performance. When she was putting up double-doubles, fans and media were quick to call her dominant and transformative, but when you actually watch those games instead of just reading the box scores, a different story emerged. Many of those impressive stat lines came during garbage time and blowout losses, or in games where her individual numbers looked good but her team's offense fell apart whenever she demanded too many touches in crucial moments. For a franchise like Chicago, already thin on talent and desperately needing veteran leadership, this created a massive problem that nobody wanted to acknowledge publicly. The Sky needed someone willing to do the dirty work, grinding through tough shooting nights, mentoring younger players, taking responsibility when games went sideways, and being the kind of presence that makes everyone around them better. Instead, they got a star who seems to evaporate whenever the lights get too bright or the criticism gets too loud.
The most damaging example of this disconnect came when Reese simply refused to travel with the team during a crucial stretch of their season. Think about what that does to team chemistry and locker room culture. Caitlin Clark, dealing with her own injury issues, still made the effort to travel, sit on the bench, and bring energy to her teammates even when she couldn't physically contribute on the court. That's what leadership looks like in professional sports, showing up even when it's inconvenient, even when you're hurt, even when the cameras aren't rolling.
Reese, on the other hand, stayed home, posted cryptic tweets about protecting her peace, and left her teammates to figure out how to win games without their supposed franchise cornerstone. For players who are grinding for minimum contracts and fighting for roster spots, watching your highest paid rookie skip road trips sends a message that's impossible to ignore. Some people are held to different standards. And that's where the cracks in the locker room culture become impossible to hide. Teammates notice when you're not there for the hard moments. They notice when you're on social media making jokes while they're getting ejected and fighting through ugly losses. They notice when you're posting fashion content while they're grinding through film sessions and extra practice. Slowly but surely, trust erodes, and once that happens in professional sports, it's almost impossible to rebuild. The truly frustrating part for Chicago's front office is that they didn't just get a player when they drafted Reese, they inherited her entire media circus and social media drama machine. Every time she speaks, it becomes national news. Every absence turns into a headline debate. Every cryptic emoji on Twitter sparks 3 days of ESPN panel discussions. That might sell jerseys and generate buzz, but it doesn't win basketball games or build championship culture. Here's the harsh reality that Sky management is probably just now starting to understand. They may have drafted the wrong kind of star entirely. Not a builder, not a leader, not a competitor who elevates everyone around them. They drafted a brand ambassador who treats basketball like just another platform for content creation and personal promotion. But the most expensive mistake might still be coming, because if Angel Reese is already showing these warning signs in year one of her career, what happens when she has more leverage, more endorsement money, and even less incentive to grind through the less glamorous parts of being a professional athlete?